was gonna say,
Those came with the board.
I'm like, what?
Deborah and Greg thought they were hilarious. All right. Don't worry. I cut all that out at the beginning of the episode. I still have to edit them. Welcome back to the CrossFit Control podcast. We have Lauren Weekly. You've been with us since, when did you actually start? Do you remember the month?
The end of September.
End of September. So I want to tell you first off, the first thing when you do the podcast, it feels weird because we're just having this conversation and people are going to listen to it later. So it's different than actually listening to a podcast. But they're a lot of fun. So we asked you to come on because you started CrossFit when you were 7 months pregnant, right? And then you did CrossFit up until 4 days before delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And so we asked you to come on because my wife, Sierra, who's also sitting here, you want to say hi?
Hello.
Is pregnant with twins, and we're 23 or 24 weeks?
24.
24 weeks. And so we wanted to discuss, and this mostly should be a conversation between the two of you, is what was it like working out pregnant? What was it like postpartum? Did CrossFit help with the delivery process? And then I want Sierra to talk about what it's like working out in the early stages, especially when we were going through the morning sickness period. And she still does 3 to 4 days a week. And you were back within 6 weeks, right? Like as soon as you were cleared, you were right back into it. So that's kind of what I want to hear is what was it like starting? What was the fear of starting? What was your thoughts on it? How did that change? Just pretty much just tell your whole story. So
Okay.
I want to pass it over to you.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I just started this like severe nesting syndrome about 30 weeks pregnant, and I kept seeing Sierra's post on Facebook about CrossFit, and I'm just like, hey, let's go check this out. So I contacted Sierra, and she set me up with Devin, and people thought I was crazy at first because I joined CrossFit at 30 weeks pregnant. I heard a lot of negative, comments about it, how it was, harmful to the baby, that, I shouldn't be lifting or doing things and I should just be resting. And I think there is a lot of stigmatism towards women who are pregnant and working out, but I loved it. I felt better in the last trimester of my pregnancy than I did the first 2 trimesters because I was working out every day. I mean, I could tell when I didn't work out and I couldn't get to the gym that, I just felt real sluggish and I felt terrible. But it was just something that I look forward to every day. And after I finished that workout, it was just, I don't know, it was inspiring to me because I could do that pregnant, and I heard a lot of, positive comments too from people who do work out on a regular basis, how it was inspiring to them to watch me, pregnant doing these different types of workouts. And I didn't have, any problems with any workouts. Towards the end, there were a couple of things, I kind of forgot about the relaxin in the body, kind of making my joints a lot more mobile. So, when I was doing different kettlebell swings, I was like, oh, wow, I got to really pay attention to what I'm doing because I can really, hyperextend my arms more than I realized. But it was, I really enjoyed it. I missed it while I was off.
Yeah.
Coming back into CrossFit, it was hard, and I think more because, I did take such a long break, but it was more of the sleep deprivation, I think, than anything. That was the hardest part. If I was able to have, a natural delivery, I think it would have been a little bit easier, but my body just wasn't progressing. So still recovering from the C-section postpartum was hard. But I was able to, a lot of women have a hard time for several weeks, but I was, up working with, my toddler and, within a week.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 total.
And how Braxton's
11.
11,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Waylon turned 2 in January. So he was 22 months old when I had Isaac.
and so you're taking care of 3 children and still showing up 5-6 days a week. And you also, I don't think you said you work, what is it, 7/12s, and then you're off for 7 days?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, 7 on, 7 off, typically like an 84-hour week. Yeah.
That's a lot. What's like the recovery process like for that? Because I'm sure your sleep schedule is different, your workout schedule. Like you like to do the 9 a.m. on your weeks off. What do you do during the week when you're working?
During the week that I'm working, if I can make it, sometimes I can come at 5:45, depending on how busy I am at work. I can discharge summaries or notes at home. After, I leave, I can come home and do that if I can make it to the 5:45. So
What were some things that concerned you with starting CrossFit, especially that late into a pregnancy?
I don't really, and I said when I first started CrossFit that I thought it was just, completely balls to the wall, make myself vomit all the time. And it wasn't. It was, the workouts were so different. And I feel like, the first couple workouts, everybody was, concerned enough to say, like, if you can do this, you can do this. There were so many modifications that I wasn't really concerned. Everybody shows a lot of concern and they want to make sure that I was safe.
What were some things that the coaches did to ensure that you were staying safe that late into a pregnancy?
They always kept checking on me, making sure I was watching my heart rate, not a lot of jumping. If anything bothered me during any of the warm-ups, I could let them know right away and they would modify something to different, a different movement.
So Matt is 23 or 24. He's pretty young. And you were his first athlete. Like he had to keep I'm not quite sure what the words are I'm trying to say, but basically you were the first athlete that we needed to be mindful of. Does that make sense for him? I've worked with pregnant athletes in the past, or athletes with some injuries that you have to be more mindful of. But I remember Matt's like, oh, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to get, like, he was all worked up for a couple of days. And then once you start working with them, it gets much easier. So basically with you, it was check during the warm-ups and the mock rounds to make sure, is there anything that's bothering us, causing pain or making you uncomfortable? And then 2, which was the big one, keeping your heart rate to a safe level because we didn't want to put any stress on the baby. And so I'm sure Matt probably checked on you more than I did during the 9 a.m.s. He was probably like every 2 or 3 minutes, hey, how's your heart rate going? How's it going?
Yeah.
And that's something in her first, well, probably towards the end of your first trimester into the second trimester, I was getting constant, like, not paranoid, but what's the word? Constantly checking on you to the point where it was probably like overkill.
Yeah. It's like, I'm good. I'll let you know.
But it is strange how, like, you're just constant awareness for those kind of things. Now talk about what has it been like for you having someone who has already gone through it. What's some communication you two go through?
It's encouraging. I mean, especially like I want to know like about the postpartum part, because I think that's what's probably my biggest fear is, I've done CrossFit for almost a year or a little over, and it's just thinking about what's it going to be like to try to keep up with a 4-year-old, keep up with twins, still help, run the gym, do this stuff, but also prioritize my health. Like what's it going to be like? I'm worried about sleep deprived and also trying to keep up with like the proper eating, working out every day. But I think you rocked it, really. Like, I mean, the fact that you work 7 days straight and then you're in here, like, it's amazing. I'm sure it's tough.
I'm not gonna lie, it's tough some days. There's days that I don't want to show up, but I do. I don't know what pushes me. I think the environment, honestly, here is what pushes me the most, really. But I just have to, I think also suffering from severe postpartum depression with my first child has really made me prioritize myself a little bit more this postpartum period, because I don't want to end up in the position I was after I had my first son, Waylon. Yes. And that's, I think, my biggest driving factor to those days when I have, 4-5 hours of sleep at the most, and I get up and I don't want to come at 9 a.m. I still push myself to do it because I know how much better it's going to make me feel throughout the day. I'm going to be tired whether I show up to the gym or not. Absolutely. Those days I might not perform as well as I would like to, or I might modify a little bit more. But at least I know I'm getting in the gym, I'm moving my body, and it's hard. But I still keep, I'm disappointed in myself when I don't show up.
I totally feel that.
Yeah.
I think that's what keeps me going too, honestly. Like, there's times Devin's like, come on, get out of bed. I'm like, oh, I don't want to. Like, I just want to lay here. Like, I'm so comfy.
It feels so good to lay
but,
in bed.
I also can relate to the postpartum. With Ginger, our 4-year-old, I really struggled for probably about 12 weeks after I had her. And I was like, okay, I don't want to take medicine. Like, what do I need to do? And of course, really didn't get into fitness in that part of my life until last year. I was able to lose about 85 to 90 pounds. And I think that's what keeps me going, because I've seen how hard it is to show up at the gym, bust your ass every day, to where it's really rewarding, but it's also scary that, you neglect yourself for a week or two and then it's just gone. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like hard work does pay off, but I can tell it's starting to catch up with my body with the twins and like the different, like my hips. I'm really having a hard time with my hips, but I don't want to quit, especially, the support here is really driven. Especially with my husband, mainly coaches me now in the mornings, and it's nice, but I don't know. It's one of those things you don't want to quit, but I'm worried about that time after I have the babies of what's going to be like getting back into the gym. So I don't know.
Lauren, what was postpartum like, first pregnancy versus this pregnancy? Do you think it was, one, you are aware of what's going on, mm-hmm. but two, you were taking care of yourself, and exercise does release hormones that help with happiness. Can you maybe talk about how did it aid you in the delivery and the recovery process, and then how it helped with the postpartum from your first pregnancy with this pregnancy?
I really think it helps me a lot, especially, right after delivery, because I was able to, it was my second C-section. So, they went through a lot of scar tissue. It was, that part was a little bit harder to recover from. I did have some pain, but I don't think it was as long as a lot of other people talk about. And then, I was able to get right back in the gym as soon as I was released. So I feel like the first couple weeks were really, really hard because I wasn't back into the motion of things. It took some getting used to because, I had been at home. I mean, we'd been walking and doing things like that, but not, any kind of vigorous activity at home.
Something I've heard you talk about with Sierra is you still had a 2-year-old you had to take care of, mm-hmm. and that 2-year-old wants to be picked up and held. So, I mean, what was that like when you?
I mean, I picked him up. I know their recommendations are you're not allowed to lift anything over your baby for 8 weeks.
It's like life doesn't stop.
Yes, life does not stop. And as soon as I got home, he hadn't seen me for 3 days. And I had just worked my 7-day schedule before that. So, when I'm working 7 on it at the hospital, he doesn't see me until the evenings for a few hours and in the morning before I leave for work. So, that was the first thing he wanted up. And it was hard the first day. The first day was the worst when I got home. It was also Thanksgiving. And we hosted our entire family. So I was picking him up and my niece, who is 6 months younger than him. So she's about, I think, 14 months. No, 18 months. She's about 18 months old. So I was picking her up and she was laying with me. And that first day was super, super rough. But honestly, within 72 hours, the pain from the C-section had almost subsided. And I was able to pick up my toddler without any problems at all. So, and I think I mean, a lot of that was probably related to CrossFit because I don't know a lot of other moms that can carry a 35-pound toddler and their newborn. And I mean, there's plenty of days I have both of them in both arms and, I'm just toting them around the house because, life doesn't stop.
Yeah. Can you talk about the postpartum depression? Because I'm sure more people out there go through that than we actually know.
Yes, and it's something that's not talked about enough or people are aware of enough. And I think moms are afraid to admit it for the stigmatism of mental health. Mental health itself has a really bad stigmatism, and there's not a lot of help out there for people who have mental health disorders. There's just not enough support staff. And, I struggled after I had my first son, and honestly, I struggled up until his first birthday. Even, he was born in January, and even that Christmas, it was just a struggle for me. And honestly, what happened, I think, to kind of snap me out of that postpartum depression is when my dad got really critically sick with COVID. And he was hospitalized. And at that point, I didn't really have another option. I had to, get myself in the correct mindset, because I had to work full time and be a mom and, be a full-time caregiver as much as I could to him in the hospital, because everybody needed me. So I had to really get myself together. And I think that's what snapped me out of the postpartum depression the first time. I'm not going to say I didn't have baby blues after this pregnancy, because I think a lot of moms do. But my mindset was much better this time. And I still have days. I think it's all those hormones rushing. There's days that sometimes I'm just, not feeling up to my best, and I'm kind of sad, but it's, I get in here, and I work out, and I feel great. And honestly, probably the harder days are when I'm not in here.
Are there any other things you do to help? I know that those headphones just want to, it's probably because your bun is in the.
Yep.
There you go. I know it's tough. Are there any other activities that you do on the days you can't make it into the gym, or do you have any other pieces of your routine that help?
I try to walk with my kids every evening. I love taking them in the stroller. Waylon loves going for walks. So a lot of evenings, and that's why I don't like to come to evening classes as much, because when they get home from daycare, I love to go out and walk with them on the road. We have a road there, a little country road that we walk.
Especially as the weather heats up.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm sure you saw the porch swing out there. We had one nice day last week, and I was like, we're getting one. And then, and then it snows.
Yeah, it's been horrible weather ever since.
And honestly, having a baby in the winter, I feel is the worst, because there's just not a lot to do.
Yep.
But one thing that we kind of did make a little priority was going to the mall. And we would walk. I'd put my newborn Isaac in the stroller, and Waylon would just like run up and down the mall, and nobody really cared. He wasn't bothering anybody, and everybody thought he was funny and cute. But we would just walk up and down the mall and get our exercise in and get some little energy out for him, because there's no real great place, especially in the winter, for kids to get in and do things like that on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah, it makes a difference.
What about you? You want to say anything else on the whole this is supposed to be the pregnancy podcast. So we got Lauren with postpartum and late stages exercise. What's it been like from the beginning all the way up until this point, especially with double babies, double hormones?
Oh, it's been interesting. What do you say?
It has been. And really, I don't know. It's our whole relationship has been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shotgun wedding.
Oh, baloney. No. We did not have a shotgun wedding. Please don't start that.
But I think what really helped you was leaving the full-time job of you have to always be on. Like your job with your previous company, you had that work cell phone, and you had to answer. If they called at 7:00 at night, you had to answer. And I think it helped not only you, but us and the whole
gym, everything,
whole family. Like,
it was hard. I mean, I feel I always relied on a full-time job just because of always being, I like to say I'm independent. It was me. If I paid for my bills, it's because I worked to pay for it. With us, I feel like everything kind of from the beginning of pregnancy, us trying for a baby, getting pregnant, you're hoping for twins, go to the doctor. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're having twins. And I'm like, oh, shit, my husband's going to be excited. I bawled my eyes out. But, no, it's a blessing, and I'm super excited. It's very stressful. It's very scary. I do want to ask one thing, though, before I keep going. Did you ever find, Waylon, like, did you ever wonder what it was going to be like? Like, how could you love another one so much? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
I know. And I don't know if that like takes a toll on my emotions so much too. Like how, like you, I don't know, just a
And I
love
think
for your
that's,
child.
that's just a really common, I think a really common mom question. And it's just, at first I was just like, there's no way I can love somebody as much as I love, Waylon and Braxton, but it just comes naturally. You just look at that baby,
Right.
and, through the fatigue and the tears, and, you love them, it just really does come naturally.
And the reason why I say, because I think was some of my postpartum. I'm kind of getting out of it, thankfully. Devin has been very supportive with it. I felt that was something that I always would question. Like I would be like, okay, like Ginger, she's only going to be she's the only one we're going to have for X amount of time. Like make sure she gets that attention, make sure she gets it when the twins get here. So I find that I would stress myself out about that. I would have to get up, work 40 to 50 hours a week, help him with the gym, still try to maintain my exercise and healthy diet. And honestly, I was so sick till 12 weeks? I don't know.
I think the hard part was like, I wake up at 4:30, I go coach at 6 a.m. And so I'm working from 6 to 7. She's getting ready from 7 to 7:45 and then leaving for work and not getting home until 5 o'clock. And then she exercises from 5:30 till 6:30. And then I got to go to bed because I get up at 4:30. So we weren't really having any time with each other.
And then in the time that we did have together, it was more of like, okay, what do we need to touch base on with the gym? I was starting to run the social media and just picking up some roles to help him because, his plate's full. But I think that all kind of took in a factor with postpartum. I think my biggest fear is I know how hard I worked to lose my 85 pounds, that I'm petrified of letting myself go because like with the postpartum, it was like depression. It was sad. I would just sit there and I would cry, like bawl my eyes out and cry. And it was just like, you felt like you were so alone. Like, is my husband going to think I'm crazy because I feel this way? Or my kid always sees me cry. Like it was just always the constant overthinking of what are other people going to think? But in reality, nobody knows what you think.
And I think the biggest thing that's helped me postpartum is coming into the gym to see how much that I can actually accomplish. Every time I try to push myself a little bit more, when we're doing lifting, can I add 5 pounds? Can I add 2.5? Can I add an extra pound? Those little weights make a difference.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say, I'm not happy with my body, but it takes 9 months to grow a baby, and you're growing 2 babies. And I don't think moms give themselves enough grace to realize how magnificent our bodies really are.
Right.
And I think that has kept me going a lot postpartum, even though I'm not happy with, my mom pooch and how my belly hangs because of the C-section and the recovery that I'm going to have from that. I come in here every day and I see how strong I am, and that really makes a difference. That to me is more important than, how my body looks physically, because I know every day that I'm getting stronger.
Yep. And being surrounded by the people. I mean, like in class,
Yes. Yes. That's really, honestly, the strength and seeing what I can accomplish here has really helped my body positivity.
Yep. And it's definitely different with the twins. So, I show up, like I trust my coach or whoever coached me, whether it's Matt Walker, Matt Morales, Devin. I think that's a big thing, like of trusting, like my safety is a priority enough to them that they're not going to put me in a position. And not only that, but I know my body. Like I'm not going to overdo it just to get that workout completed. So no, it's really, I encourage women to work out. Like it's really different this time. And I hope my postpartum's not going to be as bad, just knowing that I can do it and I've been doing it. So I feel horrible if I don't do it. So I can definitely relate to that. I'm like, oh gosh.
I loved it. I truly loved it. And it's just, people think I'm crazy. Still to this day, people are like, you did what?
Well, I get a lot of comments too. Like people are like, oh my God, you're so small for 24 weeks. I'm sitting here thinking, well, the babies are on track. They're growing. I'm healthy. Like I really try to watch what I eat, my water intake. I think all that takes a factor, honestly.
Yeah.
But
what was your pregnancy food? What was your cravings?
I crave strawberries. And it was a really funny joke in the gym that they said that my baby was going to come out like a strawberry ninja. I would probably eat a pound of strawberries a day.
Did you have the same cravings for both babies?
No, I crave tomatoes with like balsamic and corn with Waylon.
Does he like tomatoes now?
Oh, he loves them. He literally eats them by the pack.
Well, we watch these videos every Sunday, and what was it they were talking? They said the foods that you crave and eat, your babies will actually like that's what they will crave because it's something with the.
With the development.
Clearly,
of, like,
I don't know
week,
what I'm talking about.
We'll just do like what to expect with the baby update, and we watch it every Sunday together as a family. And I think this week it was like, you know, what you are eating, your babies will learn to like and adjust to, and they can taste the food that you're tasting, which is.
Won't it be funny if like one of them likes pineapple and one of them likes buffalo sauce?
Well, I was gonna say, I'm like, oh, they could taste what I taste. My cravings has been buffalo sauce. I absolutely used to hate it. I have no idea why. I mean, my tongue's watering right now just thinking about it. I put it on like my breakfast bowls in the morning. Yeah, better drill that up. So.
And then you eat like a gallon of pineapple a day.
Oh yeah, I crave
Pineapple or something else you eat every day too. I can't remember.
cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese.
Not together, same plate, but just not mixing it.
I think it'd be funny if one of them comes out and they like love spicy stuff, and the other one's like, nope, I just want fruit.
Yeah, which is I don't know about the buffalo thing, but it's like hot fries. Like hey Devin, when you go in that gas station, give me a thing. There's a certain brand too. Can't remember the name of it, but I knew the logo. I'm like, give me it.
It's like the actual hot fries.
Oh,
What are those? Is that Andy's? Andy's hot fries?
I don't know. I just know that they're good.
That's probably a good way to end this, right? Lauren, do you have any other advice or anything you want to say to someone who is pregnant or postpartum trying to get ahead in life?
I think just give yourself grace. You're a strong mom and you can do it. And, you know, our bodies are amazing. And just keep moving. It really helps physically and mentally.
Sierra?
Yeah, I agree. Like, you know, you might feel alone, but you're really not alone. Like, especially me and you communicating often has been very helpful. And find that person, whether it's, you know, rely on your spouse, but also encourage to talk to other moms about postpartum. It's not something to be ashamed of. I think a lot of people go through it more than what they realize.